In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
Keith Glennon recalls President Eisenhower's feelings about space.
Space cadet, he used to say, as he'd look over his shoulder and he'd say, you know, Keith, that moon's been there a long time. It's going to be there a great many eons yet, and we'll get there one day, but it isn't necessary we break our necks and break the budget to get there now.
Our Congress has been taken over by the big money and by the weapons industry, who want to use our government to further their product, if you will. And their product is war and death and chaos and control and domination around the world. So what can we do? What can the citizens of this country do in the face of this mass undertaking? Well, I think first of all that we have to recognize that we shouldn't have any illusions any longer about our country. We've got to recognize the reality of our times. Each of us individually, we have to accept the fact that our democracy is now under control of these big corporations, this new world order, if you will. And from there, we have to go and educate ourselves more about what is happening in this world, and to take that to our families, and to our neighbors, and to our schools, and to our communities, and share that with others. Because we do have the media under the control of these corporations. And so we can't expect the media is going to do this job for us. It's our job now to become the media, if you will.
The UN Disarmament Commission was meeting from during the Clinton years. This is session started, I think, January 2001, around then. And for a long time, its main issue was efforts by most of the rest of the world to try to get militarization of space on the table, on the negotiating table, and the U.S. simply blocked it. And for a a friend of mine did a database search on it. It was reported abroad, but the only report in the United States that was listed on, you know, standard databases was one small newspaper in Utah reported it. It was all on the wire services, and every editorial office had it on their desk. But you just don't report that the U.S. is blocking global efforts to save the species by preventing militarization of space. It's an extremely dangerous thing.
And just as George W. Bush has essentially declared war on the world, I believe he and his friends in this country, in the Republican Party, the conservatives, have declared war on America as well. What we see now is an effort to essentially get rid of government's role in the lives of the people of this country, get rid of education funding, get rid of health care, impose a very mean-spirited justice system upon us, and essentially say the only role of government is to create a military, that the government has no role in the human needs area at all. You know, I think the most interesting thing for us is to answer this question. What is the #1 industrial export of America today? Of course, the answer is weapons. I like to say if it was shoes, we'd have a global marketing strategy. We're going to put a shoe on every person's foot of the world. But when weapons are your #1 industrial export, what is your global marketing strategy? And of course, the answer is chaos, madness, instability. The more there is, the more weapons you sell. Let's look at the Middle East. Today, the United States is arming everyone. we brought the Shah of Iran to power and gave him arms. Saddam Hussein was working for the CIA, and we armed him against Iran. Today we sell weapons to Egypt, to Israel, to Bahrain, to Kuwait, Jordan, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, on and on and on. And so now, oh my God, we've got to go into that region and settle it down. We've got to take control because it's chaos, it's unstable. And now I believe that the United States plan is to do the same thing in the Asian Pacific region. By putting theater missile defense into Japan, into Taiwan, into South Korea, and on ships and planes throughout the region, China will be forced to respond. North Korea, we're already seeing that they're getting jacked up over this whole thing. And this will create a new arms race that will only benefit the U.S. weapons corporations. Our vision is one called a more perfect union. This vision says all for one and one for all, that we're never secure as long as anyone is insecure, as long as we have poor people sleeping on the streets at night, as long as we have elderly people without health care, as long as we have children whose education system is declining dramatically, then none of us are safe and secure. And so as we see this Bush war on the world, we are also engaged at the same time as on this war, if you will, for these competing interests and ideologies here in this country.
We don't have to agree to let the government spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year on measures which are likely to destroy maybe the species. And people, of course, can't react to it if they don't know about it. But here's where, if a free press was functioning, it'd be all over the headlines. You wouldn't have to look on the Space Command website to find out about it, or read the small newspaper in Utah.
There's no assurance that the Bush administration and their friends are going to succeed in their efforts to control our democracy and to control the world. Right now, they're moving in that direction, but there's no guarantee they're going to succeed. Because what we're now seeing is all over the world, a global movement has joined together, a peace movement, a movement against corporate domination, a global movement speaking to protect the environment, a movement that is speaking to protect our civil rights all over the world, our freedoms to speak out, to petition our governments. These movements are growing day by day. So this should give us all hope, but they will only flourish if we help water them, if we become active participants in these global movements, in these global struggles. No one community, no one country can now stop what is happening. No movement in any one country. It's going to take a global movement, people working together all over the world. And I hope you will all become a part of that in each and every way that you can, and each and every day. Find something that you can do, some way that you can participate in this great struggle to serve humanity, not to serve the money, not to serve the greed, but to serve the future generations. I hope you'll join with us. Thank you very much for listening.
Well, what do you think, guys? Launching plutonium into space? Yeah, that's a good idea. You do? What? What we need to do.